Ladies and gentlemen, we're here. It's, I guess, the proper start to the season now. Ladder predictions.
Proper start.
This is the
proper
foundation.
man down on the couch.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's proper.
He's back.
He's back. We had him on a
And
loan
I'm
deal.
dripped out. I made my
in-
hair's different now as well. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's been that long.
He's come back a fresh man. He's come back for the ladder predictions. It is literally the concrete on which his channel is built upon, the ladder predictions. This is what we can argue about in match week 25.
Predictions FC.
Generally predictions FC. That's what channel's turned into.
Yeah,
So.
very, very interesting ladder. Like, I feel like last year going into the season, it was a lot easier to do the ladder.
It's funny, every season you
year.
come into it and you're like, oh yeah, I
just-
got it. And then you're like,
To be honest, I would actually agree with him though in terms of like with how, in the past sort of 3-4 years, it feels like there's definitely been segments to the ladder. It's like, you got like a 6, which has kind of gone into an 8. Then you got like your middle table. Then you got like your real stinkers at the bottom.
Well, I feel like
this year
you've got your top 2. Then from 3rd to 9th, genuinely all those teams there could finish anywhere from 3rd to 9th.
yeah.
And then almost, I feel like it's the rest of the ladder could be relegated.
Yeah.
You know, like you still have better teams. You still
Yeah,
have
they're
like stronger
better,
candidates.
but if they have an off period, there is definitely some danger.
It doesn't feel like the promoter teams are.
As bad as last
Yeah,
year,
I'd
so.
say that there's like this other bit where you got those teams that feel like they are Premier League like proven now, that they're like, you're not going to relegate them, but if something goes wrong, they could be relegated.
Well, there's going to be Premier League level teams which aren't in the league next
Exactly.
year.
Before we start, did anyone do a Burnley this year? We can confirm anyone's done a Burnley this year.
I've done no Burnley.
I've
learned my lesson.
I've got one that's
Is it 15th and above? Is the question. Right?
And for the sake
No,
of the game
I don't
as well,
think so. Or maybe
So you
just
haven't
hitting
then?
that.
Yeah, no Burnley's in. Because we had him 14th last year. Let me just.
Oh, he had
I had
12.
12.
Okay.
And I still won. Can we just put that out there? So I'm the defending
Actually,
champion.
But yeah, defending champion Flynn.
Yeah.
You came second, and despite me having probably the best top 7, I think I still came last because my relegated was stinkers.
So mine was, I think let's just go, I think I had a couple of stinkers like in Forest and Burnley.
But we all had
I
them,
must have
I
just
think.
nailed it other than that. Like,
I think the top 6. So the top group, I had probably the best. You probably had the best mid-table. I think it's where you nailed it.
yeah.
Tots
On the
had relegation
sleepers.
on point because I think you and me had West Ham quite low, and you had West Ham bang on. So
Yeah.
that's where you got the points. But we'll get into it because we're wanting to get it all done. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Tots, you guys get us kicked off with these lists. Who's your 20th place team in this season?
Ipswich. A bit hard for me not to put them anywhere else. I do have a bit of faith though in some of their
something going on
players.
there, yeah.
Like, I feel like they've got a stronger team than you go look at last year, like the Sheffields and the Burnleys. There's some of those players that really look good in the championship. However, as we've known in the past, coming from the championship to the Premier League is a huge step up, and they weren't that great in the championship. Like, they just scraped through in the end.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting.
Ipswich.
I've given Ipswich a little bit more faith. I've got a little bit more faith in them. I've gone Southampton.
Straight back down, bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think of like, of the teams coming up, they've got the least aura. It's Ipswich aura, kind of like cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Luton vibes.
Yeah. It's
Then you got like Leicester, Premier League winning team. So it's like you're cool,
Instinct.
you're
Yeah,
decent.
yeah.
Southampton,
Just there.
Yeah.
Nah,
Well,
I'm not
Lallana
feeling
back,
it. And to be honest, like I looked at their squad. There's a few names still there, but I was pretty unfamiliar with most of it. And I think last year I gave a bit more hope to the teams down the bottom. Bit of that championship aura, but didn't work out too
quite
well.
fulfill
So
it. I feel
I got the Southampton on the bottom.
I went Ipswich as well.
Yeah.
I think there's names on them like the likes of Lawongo. I know me and Nathan about Connor Chaplin. He's a good player, but like we've never heard of these guys.
Yeah, like Burgess, like players that
they'll
have
be
been
good.
very good championship players, but they have no Premier League experience.
Look at Luton last year. It's a similar mold,
Have they
right?
signed anyone?
The signings were bringing back Hutchinson back from Chelsea and Delap.
So
will be
Amari
interesting.
Hutchinson.
Amari
Delap,
Hutchinson.
he
the
played there
Arsenal-
last year, Delap, didn't he?
Delap, no, didn't play there last year. So they've brought him across from City. They've brought, because Delap played for Stoke last year and he was all right. But again, inconsistent. Hutchinson is a moments player. Leif Davis was great, but then Premier League with all the... I just think they're great players, but maybe look at Luton last year. Ross Barkley, Doughty, and the one other, the Man City loan. Was that
And they also brought in the right winger veteran geezer.
Townsend. And all those guys, the Premier League players, were their best players. Luton haven't
And they
brought
brought in
in
like
those.
Sambi Lokonga,
Yeah.
like, you know, Arsenal loan.
Haven't
They
brought in those Premier League players yet, and that's what I mean. Right, and Kieran McCann might get found out a bit.
They also
That's
probably
my
didn't have like the home ground, like
Sort of
as much of a home ground advantage as like Luton sort of betrayed to
unique it
have.
is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, you'll see where I've got them ranked.
I also think it's a bit of a different mold. Like you look at Luton were able to really compete with those top teams who are playing that real defensive low block.
The counter was
Looking at
nuts.
Ipswich are trying to play like that Burnley expansive football
Yeah.
that with players like Luongo and Burgess and Chapman, like
Like championship baller here.
knows his name.
What's going on
He's
with
been
that?
listening. He's been
This
listening.
time last year,
He's been listening
washed.
to.
but those players haven't got any Premier League experience, and
Burnley,
to
having a
play
Burnley.
such expansive football, we saw it last year with Burnley.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it works at that end of the table.
Yeah. Fair play. 19th then on that point.
So, Brighton.
No, you've actually done it.
Done it.
Yeah.
He's
I
pulling the
I thought
trigger
you
on
were
him.
taking the mick, mate.
Nah, so
on
no
him.
Mick here. It's genuinely just me looking at the teams around them.
That you've given like a really objective analysis.
Yeah, so it's me looking at the teams around them, looking at how pretty much bad they've been in the transfer window over the past 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
Looking at the bit of a drop-off from last season. Losing a manager, bringing in, okay, albeit they got promoted to the Bundesliga, but the same Pauli manager who's like 30 has no experience anywhere in any big league.
Yeah.
Have we
And-
not seen this though with all their players?
No, I'm not agreeing.
They clearly
coming.
have an ability to scout though. You know,
Bring the guys in they want to bring in.
I'm agreeing with you, but it showed last year like their midfield was just terrible. Losing their best player probably by a country mile.
Yeah.
and they still finished 11th though.
Yeah,
That's
but
the thing.
I just look at the teams around them and think, how are you going to go and beat these teams? Don't get me wrong. Brighton have definitely done it in the past. But
I like the call.
I would say in terms of their squad, it would have to be a bottom 5 squad.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'll get into them a bit, but I am worried for Brighton. It's fair play.
I disagree with bottom 5. Anyway, so in my 19th, I've gone Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
So in terms of a squad
Trees
there,
going
I
down.
think that's a squad which is, they signed all those players a couple of years back.
They're all
And
left.
then, yeah, it feels like never gelled and they started, trying to get rid of some of the deadwood, the stuff that didn't connect.
Yeah.
And then I look at it now and I think, well, they got Callum Hudson-Odoi. In terms of like all their signings they made, it just feels like they all came and gone
It does
at
feel
the
like
same
that.
rate.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just feel like, a real lack of depth there in terms of Premier League quality. When Chris Wood, I know he had spells last year and they got a 1 year back. I think he's fit now. So it's like, they've got some Premier League attacking experience there.
Something there, yeah.
But from the midfield back, I don't rate it.
Yeah,
So I've gone Forest to go back down this
Go
year.
down. I went Southampton 19th. So I've been very hard. I'm trying to win back my award here because, I'm got teams back down. They've signed Brereton Diaz, a good signing. Flynn Downs from West Ham's a good signing. I like the manager as well. I think that's why I've gone above Ipswich. I think at the start of the season they'll gel better than Ipswich might. But I think overall they just haven't got enough talent all over the park. I think defensively, that'll be the difference in these teams going down. I think Leicester got more defensive structure and solidity, and their managers, what's his name? Steve Cooper has been Premier League proven a bit, whereas these managers have come up, they haven't experienced Premier League football.
Yeah, but Steve Cooper is Premier League proven at being not
At
very
being
good.
relegated. But Leicester's a better squad, I think, as well, and I think Russell Martin and Kieran McKenna will get a very harsh welcome to the Premier League, especially match day 1 against Liverpool for Ipswich. So, I've got Southampton going down second bottom for me.
To round up relegation.
Who relegated
I'm
the...
on Forest, so pretty
Forest
much
going down as well.
both of you, no, you haven't yet.
I haven't
so
got them yet, but
Flynn,
yeah.
Flynn touched on it. Their squad just isn't good enough, and now they've actually got a lot of outgoings this season.
Yeah.
I think there was 3 or 4 from their
Big
starting
players going out,
11,
yeah.
or if not, like their
squad at least.
15
Yeah.
man squad that you'd say which were rotating throughout the season. Gone. No signings pretty much in.
Yeah.
They've been really dodgy, I would say, for the past 2 years now, and they've probably just got away with it by having some of those probably better attacking output players.
Yeah,
But I'm
big
not-
moments.
But I'm not sure if that carries them through this year. But
Forest
we
back
shall
down.
see.
My next one is a bit of a there's a caveat to it in the sense that, or there's like something needs to happen, I think, for this to occur, and it's Everton.
Ooh.
So I've seen a few points deduction rumours again.
Yeah, lots come back up.
Apparently, they spent 6 mil too much or something, and that might warrant a points deduction. So that, along with the fact that I just think their squad is pretty mid. DCL, he's back again, he's fit, but he'll get injured again like that, I'm sure. I still rate their centre back pairing. They got Pickford and goal, and it's coming off a great tournament. So I think they got stuff to work with there. But losing Onana, I think, is a massive hit in the midfield. And in terms of where they're going to score goals from, I think they're really lacking output. Was it last year Decore started the season on fire?
He was one scoring like 9 goals in like 20 games.
It's probably unrealistic to expect him to get the same output again. And then plus, they've got it's just kind of Burnley aura combined with Everton, and it's just all, I don't know. I just see that lacking goals. I can't see where the output's going to come from, plus the possible deductions. So I think
it looks like they've replaced Onana with Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, but that's not like for like though. Maybe Calvin Phillips of a couple of years ago, but
he's not very progressive, is it? Like Onana was like getting the ball going.
Onana is like a very solid,
complete midfielder.
Yeah, like Calvin Phillips is not that guy at the moment. Maybe he's still got
if
it
he
in
can
him.
get there, fair
But
play.
yeah, exactly. But and it's worth the risk for a club to bring on Calvin Phillips 100%. Like what is the risk? You're bringing on a player who's proven to be really good before, who's in the biggest dip of form he's ever been in his career. But yeah, I've gone with Everton at 18th, and I think I think this might be the year they properly bottom out because they've been hanging around there for years now, right? And so it's either they kind of felt like they bottomed out last year, but then I look at it as a whole again this year, and I just feel like maybe they'll take a big step back this year to take a couple of steps forward.
Yeah, you almost said everything that I had in mind. Like they signed O'Brien,
So you got Everton as well.
Everton 18.
Oh.
They've signed O'Brien, who's this unproven Irish centre back from Ligue 1. They've got Indai from Ligue 1 as well. We don't know anything about this guy. Beto, we obviously know, sucks. Calvert-Lewin, not great.
Yeah, when you got DCL and you got Beto relying on your output.
I know like Godfrey isn't great, but they got rid of him. They got rid of Premier League talent. They got rid of Onana, Premier League talent.
Neil Maupay, mate. Like
big now. And what's his injury prone geezer? What's the guy's? I'm having a blank this morning.
Jack Harrison.
No, midfielder. The guy's always out, but it's like fantastic when he plays.
Reid McNeil?
No. Oh, gee.
What, Drissa gonna go? I don't know who gets in
Spanish. I think it's.
There's no Spaniards in that team.
Yeah, he's gone this year as well.
Gomez.
Gomez is gone as well. Like he's good at least for 10 games a year.
Yeah. Andre Gomez was unreal when he got in the park.
I meant to, but he was fantastic when he played last season. He was fantastic.
Yeah,
he's
unreal when he was on the pitch.
So you're losing like 3 stalwarts in your group, and I just think the time's ticking on that sort of era of football. As much as I said this last year,
he became more progressive towards the end of the season.
I just feel like Everton's on a last legs here, and them or Forest, which I'll get to soon. It's just fighting for the relegation.
I'm not going to disagree with you guys. I just think that if you look at their points deductions from last season, they would have finished a little bit higher.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah, I know, but I think they've gone backwards on their squad this year too.
Yeah, I think Dutch football obviously doesn't permit you to finish too high up the ladder, but it usually does get you to avoid relegation.
Yes. I do agree.
Until he did get relegated.
I do agree.
He didn't get relegated.
I do agree.
I'm
feeling every year we go, it's getting smaller and smaller the margin for error. I feel like every year it gets that way.
Fair.
All right, first team to avoid relegation, 17th.
Yep.
Who have you got there?
Southampton.
Got him just out. Okay.
Yeah, so just out. I think this is me being a little bit hopeful again. Like I haven't gone too bold like I did last season.
Yeah, just chuck them all there.
And chucking them like high up the ladder. But I think that they've still got something about them. Like I think that Bertrand Diaz, we saw what he did last season coming in. He had 6 goals in 14 games. I think he could give you between 12 and 15 goals this season. Mm-hmm. And I think if he could do that, combined with another couple of their players, I think that they could probably just avoid it. I think there's a lot that needs to go right though. And I think that's me being hopeful that like Brighton just bottom out.
Yeah, that's the Brighton one. That could age really well.
They could be the West Ham of this year. This could be the West Ham of this season. I feel like.
Yeah, so like I feel like them bottoming out. I'd say it's a lot more likely than it has been in the past. And I think if you look at their squad, it looks like it could happen. So I think Southampton being higher is me basically relying on the other teams around them to bottom out a little bit, like Forest and Brighton.
That's pretty similar to my predictions.
More so than Southampton actually being good.
Yeah, no, that's very
fair.
similar to my thought process. I've got Leicester at 17th.
Okay. Yep.
And yeah, like not too much thought went into it. I just figured that like I just see the 3 teams below them being worse.
Yeah.
Right? As in, I feel like I have more of a narrative to go say that these guys are bad.
Yeah.
Rather than Leicester
Good.
being really good. And I also just think that I think we look at the ladders of the last couple years. I know last year they all went back down, but I feel like normally a couple do stay up.
At least one.
Yeah, at least one. I think if not 2 sometimes. So I just like Forest have stayed up, Bournemouth have stayed up. Teams stay up, right? At least a couple of years. So it's like I'm expecting a couple to do not go back down, as I've obviously got with Leicester.
Yeah. I have Forest just out. Just because of Nuno, I trust him a little bit more than some of the other it's a real manager thing for me at the bottom here because there's a lot of teams very similar. Like some of the names I got rid of: Niakate, Vlachodimos, Mangala, Freud's gone back to Bologna, Gio Reyna goes back, Tavares goes back, Montiel goes back, Divock Origi goes back. So they've all just...
We still have Nuno Tavares. Oh my God.
So like... It's not a great squad. I'm just backing Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, inshallah, sort of use the pace and the flanks.
And Nuno did cook a couple of results when he went in.
They've got Elliot Anderson in the midfield who I rated last year, got injured. Milenkovic comes across from the Serie A, good centre-back, so the spine of the team's good. It's just the goals. If Awoniyi goes down, where the hell does the goals come from? And when Alanga and Hudson-Odoi are cooking, it's great, but...
Chris Wood, bully arc. Getting bullied arc storyline.
The arc's there.
He's a channel in.
I'm worried for Forest, but I think they're better than Everton.
Yep.
Similar to you guys, that's why they've got him just out for me. All right, 16th.
Leicester. So
similar thought process.
Yeah, so that's me with my 2 teams that have been promoted, not
got
going back down. However, I don't have the confidence based on
to whack them
last year
14th
to start whacking them really high up the ladder. If you look at their squad out of the teams that have come up,
they've got the most Premier League names, that's for sure.
It's definitely players that have played in the Premier League. A lot of their players that were there, however, did get relegated. However, going back, I feel like it's a lot different at the moment. But then they just lost their manager and brought them back up. I feel like if Marseca was still there, I would be more inclined to put them like 14th, 15th.
It's Premier League names, but
they're not great.
They're the exact players that got sent down. And they're like the ones that I know Danny Ward probably doesn't get between the sticks much anymore, but it's like Danny Ward and Bout Faze and Pereira is just a little bit washed, living off that FIFA card. Like Yana Vestergaard, like they're not.
Yeah, but they bring in like Buonanotte. I reckon that's
that's
a very good
They're
sign.
They're better from the midfield forward, but that defense, like they're gonna get slapped up a couple times this year. They're gonna concede goals this year.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I think if you just look at their squad, it's very hard.
I've got them staying up as well.
Southampton and Ipswich, like above them because I think they just have a lot more names that if they can get a system going, but those names are good enough.
They're gonna have to outscore teams.
If you know what I'm saying.
One thing, I'll tag on to you. I've got Leicester 16th as well. The worry is how long it takes for Steve Cooper to implement either his style of football or learn whatever Maresca left behind because you've got like Fatawu, Mavadidi, all these guys where last year just playing this great attacking football, get in the flanks, invert the full back into midfield. Like Pereira looked good because he could have played in midfield. He didn't have to be on the flank where he's older legs where he gets done on the outside. Yeah. So he was in midfield to help them out. A reinforced midfield. You lose your best player in Dewsbury Hall. So it's a system problem. Do they go to Steve Cooper's style of it's defend first, then counter attack? Because Mavadidi and the likes like the Fatawu, they can do that, but they've been used to playing one style. And then who's the centre forward? Who's going to get the goals for you? Because Dewsbury Hall was their goal scorer last season. So that's what I'm worried about. How long does that take to adjust? Because that might mean they drop further down. That's what I probably had him originally like 13th, 14th, but when obviously Maresca goes, new system, new players, especially Dewsbury Hall leaving as well.
Same thought process.
That drops them right down to me. So it's going to be a battle, but don't worry, they could easily finish 12th if it all like clicks from day one. Yeah. That's my 16th team.
Mine is Ipswich.
Yeah.
So I'm
backing the lads in, backing McHenry.
I'm backing them in, and this is a thinking with the heart one. I just
Ed Sheeran.
I just have a feeling, to be honest, like I could not name a lot of their squad, but in terms of the teams that have come up from, like include Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich, I just have more faith in the Ipswich thing. Like, I feel like, is this their first time in the Prem in how long?
25 years.
I just feel like that does something.
Yeah, that
in terms of
100% does. Yeah.
within the club and, like within the fans, and no matter how bad it gets, I feel like they're always going to have like super strong support from the fans.
The only thing that I have a
Oh mate,
problem
look,
with,
there's not like there's not.
there's no reason.
we're not even talking
Just
like,
If I had
a lot-
money on the line, it
a
might
lot
be a
of these-
different story.
A lot of
Like,
these players played really good last season, but
Yeah.
we're not even talking about actual proven championship players. We're actually talking about League One players.
Yeah, but-
they were in League One 18 months ago.
Yeah, it is.
but my thought process is more like, am I willing to have League One? I get it, but
Is it a
I'm
punt?
almost more willing to have a punt on the quality of Ipswich players having the capability of taking the next step than I am on backing in trash Premier League proven player or Premier League
Past
experienced players
Yeah.
at Leicester, because as we said, I might recognise a name, but that's just like confirmation bias. Oh, I know Valface, I know
said
Ricardo
many more
Perez,
before.
85 rated right back high. I know Wilfred Ndidi, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
these guys have proven that they're not good 2 years ago in the Prem. They couldn't cut it in the Prem. Their squad is worse in that Premier League season now. Vardy's 2 years old, no Maddison, no Tielemans.
Yeah.
And they haven't really addressed the positions where they sucked in 2 years ago. So it's like, that's why I'm more inclined to give Ipswich a shot at finishing above them than I am with Leicester.
Sometimes it is.
That being said, all three could go down.
it could just be the what's the word? Just like the unknown. They might just
Yeah,
go out there
exactly.
and just play their way. It might
That's
just work.
why I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
almost giving them a bit more optimism, because I don't know what they're capable of.
Yeah,
Where
they might not have
where I
enough.
feel like Leicester's ability is capped at
A certain level.
a level, yeah, and it's not much higher than 16th, to be honest.
Yeah. 15th place teams, Tots. Where have you gone with the last of the mid-tables? Everton.
Yeah, so I think they don't have a great squad either. And if you just look at the teams below them, I think it's me just going the
Dice
teams
jacks.
below them are worse. And I think that Deitch will be able to save them from relegation. Do I think they're going to finish much higher? Like, I've probably hit the
ceiling.
the ceiling of what they're capable of. But in the same way, I still look at some of their players and I'm like, with Deitch football, they don't need to score many goals. Like, we talk about a goals thing from last year, and we talk about like Decore having a lot of output, but
You need to score one or two, though.
yeah, Deitch football
One
hasn't
gets you a
really
win.
relied on
Yeah,
too
you need to
much-
score one.
Yeah, hasn't really relied on too much output.
You're backing
So-
McNeil and
Yeah.
Harrison's the cook and like
I just think I'm backing a bit. It doesn't look too bad in terms of their squad. They've lost only I know they've lost Gomez, but he didn't play much last season.
no. Oh, but for me though, it's the Onana and Godfrey. I know Godfrey is rated your D-level Premier League player, but it's a Premier League player, right? And you're bringing in
Onana
They brought
is
in
a
a
big
centre-back,
loss.
though.
Like,
yeah, but from league. That's what I said. When I said it, like they're two League One
they brought in a
players.
centre back,
But
but their two best players are currently centre backs anyway. Like Tarkovsky and Buddy.
it's probably their two
Whatever
most
his name is,
consistent as
Brantwaite.
well. Branthwaite, yeah.
Branthwaite,
But it
yeah.
doesn't look like he's leaving.
No,
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying they've brought in a position in which they already are solid in.
and it's
it's where
Branthwaite
they-
2.0.
yeah.
It's an Irish guy which we've seen a little bit of in League One, so you don't know if it's going to work or not. It might hit,
Yeah.
but then you got three centre backs. How does that?
No,
work?
you're
Yeah.
definitely right. I just have a lot of faith in Deitch football to avoid relegation. I don't think he's ever been a coach to, or maybe a little bit in his Burnley days, to really take you up the ladder. However,
Yeah.
One season.
I think this is how I look at it. The Ipswich game and the Burnley game, the Ipswich game and the Everton game, where you look at the two contrasting games against each other, I just think that one works a lot more to scrape 35, 40 points.
Yeah, to get that number.
Don't get
yeah.
me wrong. The Ipswich game, if they have better players, is a lot more sustainable in the Premier League to go up the ladder, as we've seen.
Okay, so we had
lately.
Burnley last year and we had Luton.
Yes.
And what did they finish? 1 point of each other? It's almost the exact. It feels almost like the
same
exact
sort of
same
moulds.
molds. You know?
The thing is, I get where you come from because you were bigger than the whole like.
No, I'm not big. I
Company,
understand.
like, there's no
I
point
understand your thought process. That is dying in the Premier League. Like we've seen in the past that you can finish probably top 10, maybe even top 8
Lewis Allardyce, all these guys, you know.
by playing that really, really boring park the bus like Brexit football. I don't believe in that anymore. So I'm agreeing with you on that side of things. However, I still think that you have to think about it in this. They can go and scrape 5-6 wins by playing that way.
They're going to need more than 5 or 6 wins, though.
No, but can we?
That's
But
Luton.
listen, but if they could against the half decent teams, that is a lot more sustainable than thinking that Ipswich are going to go outplay 5-6 teams. Is what
Yeah,
I'm
but the
trying
only
to
other
say.
thing on that, like that, I still think the counter-attack model can work, but you need someone to counter. Like, if it's Lockie McNeil, and Beto and Harrison, because DCO is not going to be on the park.
Yeah.
They're not scoring. Like,
Don't get me wrong, Todd. I've got Ipswich bottom, so in my list,
No, no,
I'm going down
that's
straight away.
just,
But
that's just my thought process. I look at these teams that are really starting to play this expansive football, and don't get me wrong, it works. But you saw from Company to do that in the Championship to the Premier League. You get those top. You get even those. It's not even the top teams though. You get those middle place teams like the Fulhams of the world and the Palaces that will just destroy them. Pretty much.
the only thing I'll say quickly on that, in comparison, Burnley, which I thought was their downfall, was they changed all 11. Basically, they changed the whole side.
Yeah.
This Ipswich side got Delap. That's basically the only player that I think will be different in the starting 11 to versus Liverpool this Saturday. The first game of the season, Liverpool. It's going to be very similar.
Right.
Yeah.
The best way
it might be their own sword because they haven't signed anyone.
The best way I look at it is Ipswich are relying on good football. Everton are a bit more like inshallah and luck. And I think the inshallah and luck is the luck factor. I don't think you don't get much luck by playing expansive football.
No,
I disagree.
No, you can,
we're going to go in circles, but I disagree with that.
You can play a game like Dyche and have a lucky day where you have 2 shots on target.
Yeah, and you
get
might
one in the goal.
You might win one game against a Big 6 team.
Yeah, but you can have
but
zero.
I feel like playing. I don't know. I feel like by playing expansive football, you give yourself more
Luton showed it last year. Luton showed it last year. And I'd say Everton's team is better than Luton.
Burnley and Luton finished. I think Burnley finished above them.
No, they didn't.
I think it was one. I think Burnley, they cooked on the last 5 games of the year.
Yeah, but you got to look at Burnley, what they did coming out of the Premier League.
I reckon there was one point between them. The point is, it was less than a win, right? As in, so Luton created more luck. There's a win between them.
It was 2 points, yeah.
And Luton finished 2 points.
26 to 24.
Wow, that's how many points they got. Oh my god. Okay. Well, in 15. So I think this is sort of the first gap in the table.
This is the mid-tables.
Yeah.
I feel
You tucked Brighton in there because bands. But I've gone Bournemouth. My thought process is super simple as they've lost how many goals to score last?
19 goals.
19, 20 goal season to play in Dominic Solanke. And to replace him is going to be borderline impossible. Just in terms of how important he is to everything they do on the pitch. They hoof it to him. He can counter. He's a finisher. It's a great signing by Spurs. So I think Bournemouth will still do enough to separate themselves from the rest in terms of a system and the other players they got around him. But Solanke loss, I think, will put him at the bottom end of that. So 15th, I've got Bournemouth.
I agree with you. This is the separation for me, but I've got Brighton as the bottom of the mid-table. I think Bonamate and Gross had massive losses. Who I do like is Minter, who came from Newcastle. But then you've got Adjunga and Minter on the same side. Mitoma, we saw didn't have the same season last year. So you're sort of relying on these wingers to do it all for you. And that screams a bit of bottom half energy, right? Midfield's lacking. There's holes in there. There's young players. Is Billy Gilmore still going to Napoli? Don't know. But if you lose him as well, that's even worse of a transfer window. The centre backs the back four is actually okay. Like Barco was good. The centre back Dunk and Webster when he come back, fantastic combination.
Webster will be back. Should be back the whole year now.
Screams bottom half energy. You're using wingers to score goals. You still got Danny Welbeck and you still got the
wingers. You didn't have it all last year. Solly March was out the entire year.
But Solly March coming from a year injury. Is it the same? Solly March?
Definitely.
And again, I forgot about Solly March.
Midfield. I think this is where you come from. Their midfield is empty. Atrocious.
It's empty right now.
It's pretty.
I thought Bonanotte would be a fantastic season for him to play at the 10, create things from the middle. Because right now for me, it's the wide players going to create things.
Isn't Ciso back for?
Ciso will be back, but I just feel like you're losing talent. And I think Minter will probably start because he's been fantastic in pre-season, a really good signing.
They'll probably play a centre back at DM. I'm not even kidding.
Chucking one of the 3 in there.
I could see Veltman playing.
Veltman drop in.
Playing at DM or something. It's just
Veltman's very versatile.
Everyone's probably gonna be this isn't FIFA, but
the system.
Not taking the piss.
The system will be exciting though because
their squad is empty.
You're relying on
the system doesn't rely on midfielders. I think.
When did Dahoud become Syrian? Isn't that brother Jem?
Yeah, I swear. Yeah,
Hey, yo.
he's clinging to them. I don't know. Yeah, the system uses wide players that might help them, but I think they might just get exposed in the middle.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
it's a very high and wide system hurts the players. It's overloading the wide areas. It's committing numbers forward.
Were these guys here last year?
I don't know.
Ibrahim Osman, Abdullah Sima, Yankuba Minte,
Minter joined this year.
and Adrian Mazilu. Like
Mazzilli joined this year.
Gambia, Senegal, Ghana, Romania.
It's a young team. It's going to be exciting.
Like, but once again, like, I kind of have like blind faith in Bryden to turn these guys who don't have a profile picture into being like a $20-30 million Premier League winger. They've proven it for years now. I'm back in the system in with Bryden. That's why I've got him a little bit higher.
I'm worried Mitoma, Marches, how these guys, because I think their best player, all four best players, Adingra, Minter, Mitoma, March, all playing the flanks. So how the hell are you getting four wingers in one team with Barco? So you got 5 wide players, your best player. I'm just a bit worried about that.
Yeah,
so there's my 15th team. 14th.
That was your 15.
Yeah, so 14th.
Sorry,
Yeah, Wolves now. Yeah.
Okay, you
Gaz,
got Wolves?
yeah.
I got Wolves.
I don't have Wolves.
So
I'm backing Gaz in this.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like Wolves showed a lot more last season than we all expected. Definitely. Well,
You guys back him in from day one.
Don't
slander.
put we all.
yeah, but
I didn't back him.
just looking at their team, like they relied heavily on Neto. Although he was injured last season, they played their best football when Neto played. He's left, and it's just now a bit of a lottery between this. I'd say 14th to 10th. All these teams could finish in any of these positions.
Yes, very much so.
But if I look at the teams that I'm going to put above them, I just think they have slightly better depth, which will
That's a good point. Actually,
which will be a big factor in them scraping a few more points. There's a bit of a lack of depth that
I actually pay. That's a valid point. Because
Yeah.
they've got fair good start.
They're probably going to
losing
lack
Kilman
goals a
as
bit
well.
again, but they
That's
still
a
got
huge
names
out
there.
as well.
Kilman's a massive.
They've got a big
and
squad.
Neto, Kilman and Neto though, they're huge outs.
said
They're
to-
probably their best
Wait,
two
where the hell did
players
Max Kilman go?
borderline.
You go to West Ham.
Oh my
I
god!
was saying
As I
this.
say, West Ham are elite.
I said this to
That's a good
Nathan
sign.
and Todd the other week. They lost Kilman, Dawson, and Collins 3 seasons in a row now. They lost their 3, or for me, their 3 best centre backs.
Yeah.
3
Wait,
seasons
so
in a row.
West Ham have Max Kilman and Tadibo now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's
Brand new
pretty cold.
centre-backs.
That's pretty cold.
It's cold, mate.
Max Kilman is best. I really
love
rate Max Kilman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His West Ham hammers are
I,
firing.
I went in on West Ham a year before everyone else.
He bought stocks
bro,
way
you
too early.
went in before they signed anyone. Like it was a bro. Matt had like Moyes' phone number.
He's like, Kudus? Yeah, he's coming. He's
Oh no, yeah. My thought process with
It's the
Wolves
history of the
is
football.
My thought process is the exact same thing.
Just-
like I like the squad. I like some of the names there. I like the Portuguese-ness they got going on still. Daniel
Nando's in
Pedence.
that.
I like the obscure ones like Daniel Pedence, Gonzalo.
Go on, get us there.
Guedes,
Yeah, Guedes,
like Fabio Silva's there. Like they've still got buddy Nelson Semedo as well. Like, they're not there.
Yeah,
it's always it's a bit nice.
Silva's a $40 million striker they signed. He's now into his 3rd season in the Prem.
he
Is
hasn't
this
kicked
year a
on.
bust?
Yeah.
Because he went to Rangers last year and didn't even do that well at Rangers. So
But I also just think with like the method of football, like Gary O'Neill plays with this sort of squad.
He
Once
separates
again,
himself.
I think it's a low. It's like a low risk model. Like I think they can only finish so low. But I think the same applies
12th to
to how
13th.
high. Yeah,
it's just there. The new
I think
Palace. They're literally,
14th.
Yeah,
I
like-
think it's 14th to 14th.
you could probably only go up 2 spots. I guess,
Yeah,
realistically.
exactly.
It is literally the new
But
Palace.
yeah.
so Wolves.
I went Brentford 14th.
Okay.
I think Wolves a little bit better.
Yeah.
They signed Igor Thiago as a striker, assuming that Tony leaves, and now they've got too many strikers. Schade, Thiago, Tony, and then you got Mbemo and Vista, so there's a lot going on there, so they sort that out. I think the centre-backs will be much better. Last year they really stunk defensively is what they're built on, so they'll be a bit better this year. I can't see them though breaking into the mould of my 13th, or 14th, 13th, sorry, interchangeable, but the 12th, 11th, and 10th, I back those teams a lot and back them hard. So they sort of sit there, Brentford in 14th, ahead of Brighton, but very close to my 13th team. So that's what just got him there in realm.
Yeah, so I've got Bournemouth.
Bournemouth.
13th.
Yeah. So just looking at their team, I think you touched on it already. Solanke's a huge 18 Premier League goals to try to replace that. And
How many assists too? I feel like he gets a
Yeah,
few. I feel like
like-
he gets a
I
few.
think
and I,
Five,
and I
six,
feel
yeah.
like his whole build-up play was really like crucial in the way Bournemouth played last year, and they did have a very good season and did seem to kick on in that second half of the season. But when you're going to lose a player like that, it's definitely going to bring down even like the morale and confidence of the other players around them, knowing that they're going to all have to lift by 10% just to get the same output that
Probably more.
Solanke,
Probably like 20-30% to be honest.
that Solanke possessed. And that's why they're 13th. Like, I'm not putting him 16th, but I think for them to have took that next step, Solanke definitely would have had to stay.
Yeah.
In 13th, I have Brighton. So I just have a little bit more faith in the system,
Back in the
club, and the history of
youngsters.
what they've done to get it a little bit higher than you
Yeah.
guys did. So
Yeah.
nothing else to it.
And I put Wolves 13th. Again, like I said with Brentford, they're very interchangeable. I'm just worried about Neto and Kilman's holes, but I'm now on the Gary O'Neill bandwagon. I understand what he's going to do, so he's going to lock in a spot
That
around
guy,
there.
Gary.
Have Gary to do his thing. So Wolves 13th.
Yep.
Nothing exciting for them.
All right.
12th. So we're getting closer to that.
Yeah,
like,
so I've got
exciting
I've got
mid-table.
Brentford in 12th.
12th.
It looks like Ivan Toney's going to stay. It looks like they're accepting him back into the squad at this time as well. So
Is that clapping thing they did when he walked in the door? I gave him a round of applause as he walked back in the chain.
yeah,
He was there last year, bro.
no, we know
That's
that
weird.
like
That's
we know
weird.
that Brentford with Tony is a better team.
6 months sober.
They did make a few striker sightings and they do have a lot of depth there. But I don't think that takes away from the team they have.
No.
We know the team, even without Tony last year, was still good enough to avoid relegation. I think they were 15th. So that next step to 12, I think, is definitely sustainable if he stays. I think this is a big if.
Yeah.
However, I do think the replacements are decent players as well. That either way, I don't see them finishing. What do I have? I don't see them finishing worse than 14th, which is where I've got Wolves.
Yeah, that feels like sort of the next.
Yeah.
segment.
I feel like
bit of
that.
brackets
I
going
feel
on.
like between Wolves and Everton, there's a little bit of that gap. I
Yeah.
feel like Everton down, anyone can get relegated.
Fairs, yeah.
But and then there's that gap. So I could see Brentford, if Tony leaves, maybe finishing in that 14th position. But I feel like with the squad they have, if Tony stays, it is better than Wolves and Bournemouth.
In 12th, I've got Palace. So
Oh, my boy Glasner.
I don't know, and Chalk in 12th as well.
Yeah, what a season Palace. 12th place.
Palace are going to do what Palace do. I like that brother Adam Wharton. You know, but obviously they lose Elise. I don't think Mateta can back up what he did at the back end of last year when they really started
Cold
cooking.
Mateta, cold.
Yeah, it was cold as, but like
Tucked in.
that build of a player,
Crazy.
that build, like, you know, the
Crazy.
6 foot, like however tall he is, kind of like lanky, you know, unusual movement, like managed to find a way. But I feel like they're really formed players and they go through phases, and I just can't see Mateta doing that again over a consistent period of time. I still see him getting a few goals. And then obviously, Mark Gay maybe.
Bit of a worry there.
Yeah,
if
might
he
be
stays
heading
with it.
out.
Yeah.
And then the defensive depth after that, like, you know, look, Anderson's still a good player, but
Chris Richards
he's a
centre back.
staple in that team. Like, you know, he's obviously an England staple now, let alone a Crystal Palace staple. So if you lose that, I think that's a really big hole that opens up. And I just don't think that. I really liked what Glasner did at the back end of the year, but I think that was maybe just more like a purple patch rather than what we can expect from them in the future. I think, you know, losing Elise was like a massive hit to that progression of opportunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Palace went back. I went Bournemouth in 12th. Another year under Areola. Backing him in hard. I'm talking about investing in stocks. I'm investing in this stock here. Sinisterra there, Unal there, Hodgson there. They're signing a...
Your stock just took a massive hit though.
It took a massive hit.
It took
a
like
massive
more
hit.
than a $65 million hit. It took
No,
like a
and
bloody-
I'm riding. I'm riding this wave. There's enough from the wide areas. Unal's going to have to be that guy now to score a goal. But they have got 65 million now to spend. So they didn't have that until now. They've got that now. So hopefully they reinvest. They're getting in another Barcelona academy right back in Araujo for 10 mil, which sounds like a really good signing as well. They've got good wingers. They've got good fullbacks. Love the centre backs. They've got a new centre back joining as well alongside the group they had last year. Kelly was a big loss because he was one of the more experienced heads, but Areola, I like what he does. I like the mid. Tyler Adams finally has a season. This year was out all of last season. It's good to see him in there. It looks like Cook and Christie and the same sort of faces. I think they'll do as well. Can't see them pushing on any further because of Solanke, but I think that's because of coaching. they separate themselves a little bit from some of the other groups around there. So I've got them in 12th for me.
All right.
Here we go, proper mid-table now.
So Palace, yeah. So
Palace.
yeah,
That is so Palace.
So Palace. 11th,
Glasner, I'm having a lot of faith in him. However, there are a few concerns. For example, when Elise and Eze played last season together, I think it was something like an 80% win rate.
Brought a tear to my eyes.
Yeah,
So it's fun,
and they didn't get that much. They weren't on the park that much together, but it still ended up bringing in, I think, like 7 or 8 wins when they both were on
ridiculous,
the
yeah,
park.
yeah.
And you lose that this season. Are you going to be able to cover that? There are very much question marks. However, you look at their squad, you look at like players that are going to kick on. Like Adam Warden really cemented himself as a great midfielder in the league, and he's only going to get better. He's only young. He's only 20 years old, and we look at some of their other players. They still have Eze. Hopefully, he gets a lot more game time this year and avoids a lot of injury. And I think Glasner, we saw what he did in the second half of the season. Hopefully, if he can implement that from the start of the season, they should finish around that same mark they did last season. I'm not taking that next step though.
Yeah, it's just really hard, that next step.
That next step, like I feel like, as we've said, there's a top 9 that's
you can't really break
just
into
put
that top
themselves
9.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
11th, I got Brentford. So I just have, I just thought that for how bad I thought it could have gone last year,
Think of that bad, did
it
it?
held together pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, I thought obviously the Tony loss was massive, but I also thought there was a lot of underperformers around the pitch. I thought Mbeumo was good. You know, I thought that those two covered. Wissa and Mbeumo covered really well. But is it Kevin Schade is his name?
Kevin Schade actually played injured a bit last year.
Yeah, he was injured and didn't really kick on the way I think we expect him to kick on a little bit. And I just really rate Thomas Frank. I just
it's a fair
I just think he's got kind of a big manager vibe to him. Still at a smaller club, you know, probably really just waiting to make that big next step in his managerial career. And I just have a lot of faith in Brentford to sort of click again this year and do really well.
Get back.
Yep.
I went Fulham 11th because it's just Fulham. Like, it's Marco Silva will still be there. I think there's some big losses, like Palhinha and Bobby Eckert over Reed and those sort of players. Adebayo to Chelsea. So I just haven't put him above the team I got in 10th. It's a little bit unsettled. If you get McTominay there alongside Smith Rowe and the likes of that, it'll be all right. But I just think you lose more than you're gaining, sort of similar to a lot of these teams into the region. So I can't really put them the highest of the mid-table for me.
Okay.
10th placed.
Yeah, Fulham. So
Fulham.
Looking at their team, Smith Rowe is huge.
It's massive.
Like Smith Rowe is a player that
Everyone's so excited to watch Smith Rowe on the Prem, eh?
Because we love it.
Yeah.
Smith Rowe was amazing.
He was amazing.
But
he's a player that I see.
This is so good, though.
Those Newcastles, the West Hams of the world, the Villas
they missed out?
would be amazing for them.
Yeah.
And then you look at it looks like
So
McTominay is
sad.
going to go there. If they can sign McTominay, I think this is really more me doing a borderline of West Ham here going, if they can do this, which you'd think they have to cover Paulinho.
Yes. They would
So
have to.
if it's not
a big loss,
McTominay, it's
Paulinho.
someone. So it's me going, looking at what could happen, what I think will happen. If they don't cover him, though, there is a lot of doubts. Like, 10th position is really high on the ladder.
Yeah.
And they could drop to that 13th, 14th. I don't think they drop to that next level, obviously.
Yeah.
But they could drop, and there could be a couple of teams that do take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, their squad. So I'm going Fulham as well. I'm just looking at their squad now. It is pretty thin. The depth.
Ruda's for
Rain
a
goes.
full
Yeah,
year,
Tim
though.
Rain.
Ruda's for a full year.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah, but as in like defensively, like they've actually got
Your spine's
No
looking
one, yeah.
a bit
they've
dodgy.
got 7 players on as defenders on Prem, which is like nothing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they've got 2 goalkeepers. What's up with that?
Burnt, just hold down.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I just think that the
Manager as well. Manager taxi.
the top,
definitely.
yeah, manager tax 100%, and the top level of that talent is really good. You know, but hopefully, fingers crossed, they're pretty injury free, and you know, get the players on the park because I think that's going to be key for them to do well.
I just put Palace above them because we got a full season of Glasner. Same name. I'm assuming Gahey comes back. Gahey, Anderson, Warden as a 3. Good luck. I think in terms of midfield, like F1 mid-table teams, that's one of the best trios you can get. Right, there's a 3 there and sitting in front of the back line. Henderson in goal. I think Mateta with a tucked-in shirt is just different gravy. Like, he was born at the Olympics as well. Like, he's actually done it in a different environment, which I'm actually happy to see. Still got Eze there. I love seeing Ismail Assar back. I wanted to player I just love watching. He's just really
He's
exciting.
Marcel back in the Prem School.
Yeah, like back from the League One and a bit of football purgatory over there. Comes back and actually we get to see a bit of him. If they can continue to sign the players like they're signing here, like they got another Barcelona Academy regent, Chatty Riyad, who came from Betis, had a decent season last time around. You still got some young players there. I think that actually could go right. Like I think 10th play again. I think all these teams max out at 10th. I just got them as the best of that pack because Glasner's management, this team's ability, and its future as well. It's pretty bright.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So now we get into the big boys.
Big boys. This is where it gets a bit more serious.
Or is this 10? Or is this
Newcastle.
9?
Ninth. Yeah, I got Newcastle 9th as well.
Yeah, so I just think that Eddie Howe isn't him. Eddie Howe will be sacked by November.
What? November?
Newcastle 9.
He'll be sacked by November. They'll be sitting in like 12th place. They're just not good enough. I think the only chance of them doing anything is like you've got the likes of like Tonali coming back and he's like a brand new player.
Mate,
As of such.
They have some elite players.
Elite players, but it looks like some of them are even going to leave as such.
Well, okay. Fingers crossed no one leaves the squad.
I just think out of all the teams above them, they've had probably I said Liverpool, but I love Liverpool squad. It's the weakest round. It's Kelly and
I'd agree
Hall.
with that.
Kelly and Hall's their only signings this summer. So yeah, I'm still believing they're going this mold. They're going to just establish themselves. They get established, and then I think 2 years from now, they'll flick the switch, and there'll be a big sign from there. But this team still looks like a team just established himself amongst the big boys.
Yep, I agree.
I don't think, like, compare the teams we've got around and the transfer windows are nowhere near it. Can they probably afford it? Probably not. But
Isaac's 20 goal striker. Anthony Gordon's like a 15 goal winger. Like,
yeah, but
there's goals there.
All the teams around them have got better and they've stagnated.
yeah,
But I think they underperformed last year. I think no European football.
But I think a lot of teams underperformed.
They're going to get the best team in the park every week.
there's more around them. But I think that they've gone like this.
I have faith.
Everyone's doing that.
I'm agreeing completely with you. And
Pep
you're going to
said
say
it. Pep's
there was a
worried.
lot of teams
I
last
think
year
they
that
went
played
this
bad
though.
as well.
They got
That underperformed. You go look at, I can name you, Tottenham back end of the year underperformed. United underperformed. Chelsea underperformed. Like there's a lot of teams around them that definitely underperformed.
I have a lot of faith in that Newcastle
Who do you
team.
got?
So I've got in 9th. I've got West Ham. So I know. Look,
There's a bit of
I still rate it. 9th is a great season.
Great season. Improvement again.
And I didn't even realize I signed Max Kilman. So it's like Max Kilman to Debo. That addresses massively what their biggest hole was by far. No more RSPCA.
And Maverick
Cat abusers. But yeah, no. Look, West Ham. I think it's sort of change of an era. Like Moyes to Lopetegui is a very different sort of vibe. But
pay air tax.
yeah, legit Spanish fraud tax. But yeah, I don't have too much to say on West Ham. I just think they're not going to be able to match it. Yeah, they've gotten better.
They're not better than the rest.
But I just don't think they'll be able to match it with the guys.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Fairs.
Chelsea.
Yep, Chelsea 8th as well.
Yeah. We've got very different vibes, eh?
Me and Prez are cooking now.
Actually, no, we couldn't cook. We could be very simmering.
I think we've gone both like you've gone like United fan vibe, faith, and then you've got non-United.
No, but you just look at Chelsea. They're just reminding me too much of the past 2 seasons. Again, some of the signings they've made.
I hate the new man. I hate that. No, I don't hate the manager. I just hate the whole start again thing. It hurts. It kills me.
I don't like that at all.
It like pisses me off.
If they were going in this season with Poch,
I'm having them probably 4th, 5th.
He's not like Marseca's not proven. Marseca is Arteta 2.0 that he's going to need time.
Can't be too bad.
No. But
Top 2.
No. But yeah, but you go look at Arteta's.
I didn't know they were going for the title.
You go look at their seasons. I'm not saying if Chelsea are willing to back Marseca in, he could be a very, very good manager in my opinion. But I think he needs 3-4 years.
Yeah, no.
Are they going to give him the time that Arsenal gave Arteta? I don't believe so. They're not going to let them finish 8th 2 seasons in a row.
Bro, 43 players is crazy.
I know.
That is crazy.
They go get rid of Gallagher, who was their best midfielder. The way they've treated some of their players is appalling.
I'm still off the Gallagher.
No, I don't like it at all. But calling him their best midfielder is like
He was their best midfielder last year. Last year,
yeah, but he's probably not, he doesn't start though. When they're all fit, he doesn't start. So is what it should be.
It's fair.
So
It's
like,
fair.
He's their best midfielder. He was their best midfielder last year. But
Lavia's a big one.
Huh?
Lavia for me. And
Yeah,
Lavia
yeah.
and Enzo could hold the key.
Lavia, I'm so keen to see Lavia get
Definitely. He was good in pre-season. However, you got to look at, I just think that Marseca's coming in. He's now like adopting a brand new like game style. You got to look at the teams around them. I think they've made way better signings. Really, apart from Neto, I wouldn't say they've really done anything in the market. Well, they actually
You
haven't.
don't really need to think. That's
Yeah,
my
I
point
No,
of
but
view.
they've got this whole problem in Chelsea. They've got all these players, as you said, these 45 players.
that's what
and
my
getting them to all go together. Again, I think they could do a similar season to last year, but they're going to start that first 6 months.
Struggle.
Terrible. So then to come back from that. And don't get me wrong, I think the difference between 9 that look at Newcastle, Chelsea, and probably up to third, we'll say, could finish in any of those positions if everything goes right. Newcastle, stuff go right. Chelsea, the likes of Liverpool, United, the Villas, the West Hams. If everything goes right, they could finish as high as third.
Easily put it. If Botman and Cher say fit for Newcastle, it could be third.
Yeah, exactly.
For Chelsea, if Nkunku becomes a number 9 or Jackson becomes a number 9,
Correct.
But those
I
are
think-
massive ifs
Do
for
you know what
both
the thing
teams,
is now I'm looking at? There is more chance of things going wrong at
Yes.
Newcastle and Chelsea. And that's why I've gone
That's
longer.
exactly
There
what
is
I
a great upside, don't get me wrong. But I just think that the downside and what could go wrong is way worse.
100%.
We don't know. Eddie Howe, we know, is the worst manager out of the top 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then secondly, I'm not going to comment on Marseca at the moment. He could actually be worse, but we can't comment on that. But there's no flow at Chelsea. That's how I look at it.
I think there's a goal problem. At the top, there's a real problem.
They're going to take time, is my thing.
they'll
And
take
that time isn't going to give them what they had last season because I think the teams around them are going to be better.
I agree.
Trying to read that correctly. In 8th, Man United. Yes, I got United at 8th, genuinely.
Just double checking.
I genuinely, I just, you know, I don't have faith in this project. You know, I was banging on about it last year. And that wasn't. I want to make something clear in the sense that if I was a United fan, I would be fuming if they sacked Ten Hag because I want to give him a chance.
Yeah, makes sense.
But in my opinion, I want to give the right manager time.
The right chance.
I don't think Ten Hag is the guy to take you forward. That's just my opinion. You know, I think you made some good signings, but I think they're Man United signings. We do this. How many years have I done this?
They're different.
They're different. I hear that every year as well.
No, but they
you went from
aren't.
signing washballers to signing Varane. That's different. We're getting someone in their prime. You know, it's all different. It's always different, man. You signed Jadon Sancho. I mean, how much more of a better signing could that have been? You signed a 19-year-old who was setting the Bundesliga on fire for 70 mil. You can't get a better signing than that. And that worked out amazingly, as we've seen. So I don't really care who United sign. I don't care who they let go. I don't care who gets in the park. I just think I think the place it's just toxic in total, you know. And I think it's going to be really hard for any manager to succeed there. But that, especially being said, I don't really have a lot of faith in Ten Hag.
That's fair.
And I have a lot more faith in the clubs around this top 8 mark. So that's why I've gone United 8th.
Okay.
7th, I think we've got the same one.
Tottenham.
Oh, no, we don't. It's Tottenham 7th. Why Tottenham 7th?
Just don't have a lot of faith in their depth is the best way to explain it. Like, you look at their team, they're going to be playing in Europe this year, which they didn't last season.
That's a good call.
Big one.
It's a good
Okay,
call, actually.
they don't have the depth. We saw last season, and they haven't made those signings. They brought in Solanke, which is a good signing, but
They don't have the depth. I mean, they might not have the midfield.
I'm looking at the squad now.
And what you got to get is Ange is really, really particular with his game style on the players he can use. And we saw if they're not an Ange player, the system just collapsed last
I
year.
would say they have a decent amount of depth, though.
Yeah, but it's not about depth of players that are Premier League proven. It's
Yeah,
depth of
yeah.
Ange players. We saw
Defensive
last
is a bit
season.
dodgy.
We
Yeah,
saw
it
last season that when they had those few injuries, those players that stepped up weren't capable of playing the same way, and it brings that little bit of like that Ten Hag thing about it. When those players aren't there, they just the drop off is so huge. And don't get me wrong, if they have a fit team, like we go back in those Liverpool years where they pretty much had a fit starting 11. And they pushed on. They could be really good at finishing that third, fourth. But I think you
realised-
look at the teams around them.
You have West Ham top 6. I've just realised you have West Ham top 6.
Can we calm down?
Sorry,
Okay?
sorry.
And that's all I will say. Bring on the top 6.
Yeah, You go then because
I've got Liverpool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We've got so many different lists. This is actually going to be interesting.
well, I'm trying to not let the names blind my view of the team, right? So Liverpool, they've lost Jurgen Klopp. You know, he's a top 5 manager of all time, arguably a top 3. You know, like he's one of the GOATs in the game. They've made no signings, as we touched on before we started, and I just, with how competitive the league is this year, you know, I just think it's going to be so hard for a new manager to take over from a long successful regime, where the fans, they're probably going to convince themselves we'll give him time, but as soon as it doesn't click. You know, as soon as they lose a couple games in a row or they don't get the results in a row, there's going to be pressure mounting. You know, it's going to be so tough for Slot to kick off this Liverpool era with a bang, and he could, but I just don't think that, you know, I think the players that Klopp had at his disposal suited his game style to a T. Mohamed Salah could do nothing for 90 minutes and could still be the most important part of that Klopp team because he can find a way to put the ball in the net. Other managers, they won't deal with Salah moping around, hanging around up top. You know, they're going to want more from their wingers output-wise and team press-wise, and that's why I just think that it's going to be a tough season for Liverpool, and I've got them at 7th.
Yep.
Okay. I've gone West Ham 7th. I've gone not quite top 6.
Oh, thank God.
But Tillman, Somerville, Fulkrug, Gahom, Rodriguez, Fotheringham, Todibo. Apparently, Wan-Bissaka had one more on the way as well.
It's a fair bit of mid, though, to be honest.
Front four's elite. I'd take that at United.
It's all right, but it's a fair bit of mid.
I don't know. I'm, as you know, the Thursday people know, I'm massive on Fulkrug. I'm a big Fulkrug fan. So, like, that is a huge... They've not had a striker at that football club since God knows when. Like, we could go back to Tevez if you have to really go back that far.
They've signed him. They just don't do anything. Skamaka wasn't a striker. Just didn't do anything.
Yeah,
this is a proper... This is
a proper number 9. Like, this is, like... He will score you goals. That goal against PSG in Champions League, that was all him. The ball landed his feet, and he whacked it in from like 25 yards on the... Like, this is a proper number 9.
He's a finisher. No, Fulkrug is a finisher. I don't know if he does a lot else in terms of...
That's all they need. They've got the players around him that
Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta, midfield.
There.
The midfield as well is ridiculous.
Danny Ings is a finisher, mate. They already got him.
A washed finisher.
I think that midfield, Rodriguez in there.
That press.
You've got Todibo and Kilman at the back. There's just depth. They got Fotheringham and Areola now. It's 2 keepers. You got 2 top keepers going around as well. The front four's fantastic. You got rotation in there as well. I think they're gonna be scary. My bold call Fulk will be probably one of the top 5 strikers in the league this year.
Well, that is a bold call.
That's a bold call.
That obviously
out of nowhere.
That would make your signing of some of those, surely. Top 5 striker in the league.
Him or Savio will be my signing this summer.
Yeah. So I'll move on.
6th.
Liverpool. Okay, so I look at their team, very, very good. However, aging, number 1.
Yeah,
then I look at Arne Slot coming in for Klopp. Don't know too much about Arne Slot, but you have to give him a little bit of time. And then second of all, the Klopp factor. I think there were so many games last season. Where they won purely because of that Klopp factor. It's a bit like when United used to win because of Fergie time. The other team would like start shitting the bed. It was a bit of that factor with Klopp that I don't think other teams are going to be so fearful about this season. I don't think internally Liverpool are going to be so confident about their game plan and everything.
Is that true though?
Yes, it is. Because
internally they're going to be confident.
No, they won't be as confident. As they were with Klopp.
Glad to clarify that.
No, they won't be so confident about their game plan. You got the likes of Salah and all these players, Van Dijk, and all these players that have played under Klopp. Are they going to be the same player now playing under Slot? I'm not saying they're not going to be, but I think there's a little bit of this adaptation time.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they're going to need a year, and that's why we haven't put them.
That's why we're 7th.
Yeah, 6th. We haven't put them Chelsea-like, where they're just going to drop down the ladder.
Oh,
we've put them.
I haven't said Chelsea yet though. So.
No, I'm saying of recent years.
I had them 4th last year.
Yeah, but we haven't put them as Chelsea like where they're going to drop completely down the ladder. But I think that there's a lack of... You go look at how many games they won close last season, and they've already probably had that little bit of a drop-off in the last 2 to 3 seasons that they had at the pinnacle of the Klopp era. You go look at that drop-off they had together with losing Klopp. Like, we know what Klopp was for that fan base, number one, but for the team internally, like, if I was a player under Klopp, I'd feel so much more confident in my own ability and in the game plan and in the style and in players around me. Am I going to feel that confidence now? Probably not.
Valid.
I'm going to hold my thoughts.
Sixth, I've gone Villa. I mean, I still think
it's valid to be honest. The Champions League.
I think, that's a massive addition. Add Champions League in, and I still think 6 would be a successful season with Champions League.
Yeah.
Like I think
it could still
one good
Champions
season.
League,
Don't let you mask where Villa have been the last 20 years, right? I mean, how many years ago they nearly got relegated? They were 18.
They were relegated a few years back.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Jack Grealish punched, all that stuff.
So it would be still a remarkable season for Villa to finish 6th. But that just shows how far they've come, Yeah. I don't think you've said them yet, and putting them as 6th is a fantastic achievement.
Props.
So I don't really have a lot of basis to it. I just don't think they'll be. I think they'll be around there, just middle of it.
Yeah, I went Tottenham 6th. They were a team. I literally had them 8th. I made this list last week. They were 8th until Solanke came across.
Yeah,
as obviously massive deal for them. Up top, I like it. There's a lot. There's almost 2 players every position. That's a tick. Midfield was still questionable.
Yeah, a bit more midfield.
Gray. I'm interested if Archie Gray goes from the start. He's actually been okay in pre-season, but you'd think it could be perhaps Sarr and Basuma. But Archie Gray should be the next step in the Adam Morton sort of mould of progressing and being defensively minded. How does Sonny play? But then defensively, I think Emerson's off to AC.
Yeah, that's already a done deal. Yep,
that's a done deal. So you lose, and then you got Jed Spence. Is he involved or not? So there's a bit of depth problems at the back. Mickey Van de Ven was fantastic last season. Can he continue that with Romero? Because those two are still at their best, like they were in the Euros and the Copper. Fantastic back three. But
Dragusin looked good too.
Dragusin looked good as well. But you expect those to be the starting two because they were at their best. That holds it up. So if there's goals up top and the 2 centre backs are at their best, Tottenham's system just happens.
It's just a matter of with the introduction of European football.
How do they manage it?
And the fact that
I think there's pressure.
I feel like, just as we've said, if they have that starting 11 out there for 90% of the season, they will be fine.
Yeah.
They'll have an unreal season. Andrew looked good. Probably could push and finish top 4. Don't get me wrong. But I think, do you rely on no one getting injured? That's a huge call it's a big drop-off.
It's also the pressure aspect. It's finally, every second season at a big club, there's all of a sudden this unspoken elephant in the room.
Had a free hit though. Yeah. He actually had a free hit.
Over your shoulder, you're looking like, oh shit, if I lose 3 on the bounce, I'm out the door. It happens at every big club.
Definitely.
At Manchester United, I go into games in the first season of our managed the last 5 or 10 years, and the first year I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I don't want to give it the stuff. But the next season I'm like, all right, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, who's doing this? As a fan, as a club, you look for tiny things, and the first thing you let it slide, right? So that pressure, these players, do they step up to being a Tottenham first season player to Tottenham going forward players? That's the difference with them.
And now we move on
5th
to the pinnacle of my predictions.
So this is basically Champions League football because we should assume Premier League gets the coefficient. So
West Ham.
I'm glad you said that actually. That's a really good point.
Champions League West Ham. That's what I'm trying to get.
I think that West Ham is unreal. You look at their players. You look at their starting 11. Their starting 11, if you want to talk about Villa, is as good as Villa. And in some of their positions now, they have depth. They brought in 2 brand new centre-backs who are way, way better than what they had last season. They've brought in a great manager. They've got this whole different philosophy. They brought in what did we say West Ham's problems were last season? So they brought in a lot of...
a great manager?
The thing I want to get...
That is literally Spanish fraud or attacks.
I want to get this across. He's a good manager, but it's David Moyes with a bit of paella. But I had him high. I'm not downgrading your point, but when you get that clear, there are people out there. We're not like...
I'd back David Moyes, but with this team, if you're gonna look at what we said last season,
agree with that.
our whole problem with West Ham last season was Bowen was playing up top.
Agree.
Okay, they've brought in a striker. You said it.
Yeah, that was my
biggest
point. That
has to be a big step up.
Yeah.
Their centre backs were pretty. Mavropanos and Zuma weren't it.
Yeah, that was
probably the worst.
That's probably the worst.
They weren't it. They haven't just.
Yeah,
they just haven't, and they were borderline terrible centre backs.
No, I don't think borderline.
I have him in the
obviously in
bottom
the
3.
They've
bottom
gone
3
from terrible centre backs to 2 very, very competent centre backs.
Definitely.
That
top 10
we're talking about like if there wasn't some agreement between Sir Jim, Tadebo's starting for United this season.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, that's valid as well.
That's fact. United had it all done. Apparently, some financial something to do with Champions League football
you can't,
or something, or not just Champions League. Europa something because you can't be doing that deal with the same
UEFA
owner
rule, yeah.
or something. Some UEFA rule that they can't happen. So we're talking about Tadibo as a very good centre back. So every hole they basically had, they've got depth. Bring in Wan-Bissaka, which we're assuming. Their midfield this year, they're actually going to be able to play with a proper number 10. Kudus is going to sit at that top. And Alvarez there.
Yep. And they brought in Rodriguez for a free as well.
And Rodriguez. And we're talking about they're going to have Souček and Ward-Prowse
As backups.
Yeah,
they have depth this season.
My only thing with West Ham is I think it looks good, but how much top level talent do they have? Like Liverpool have so much top level talent.
Yep.
You know, European starters, like South American starters. West Ham, I can have 3 or 4 maybe in the whole squad.
Nah.
I reckon that. Well, okay.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
They got Bowen doesn't start. Are you yapping? What are you talking about? Bowen, how many times has he touched the pitch during the Euros? Once?
Kudus, Paqueta, and
That's it.
Havertz played in the. I was going to give.
I reckon it's
Alvarez.
Kudus. Like Fulkrog, got on the park a little bit.
Alvarez-
He should have
But
started, but he didn't start. So it's a valid point.
Alvarez is quality.
So three.
He's Mexican.
3. Alvarez,
Like-
That's not
Paqueta,
doing
and
anything.
What was in his name?
Kudus.
Like, okay, it's not
And
exactly the
I
hardest
reckon-
squad in the world to get in. All I'm saying is...
Tadebo's pushing it.
he's looking over
No,
Saliba.
he's not.
and with Meccano.
Tadebo's pushing it. What are you talking about? He's nowhere near the squad. mate.
Canane's in ahead of him.
Okay.
in the order.
So it's good, but
but touch and go.
I think 5th will be an outstanding achievement, and I get you probably factoring that in. You think they're going to overperform or perform greater than expectation, but still I think it'll be a great.
Did you think what? Ninth, yeah.
No, 9th. I had it.
Okay.
But as we've said many times through this
We'll-
whole list, 3rd to 9th is very much opinion based. There is a team you could have 3rd. That someone else has
Well, the whole-
9th,
the whole
and
thing
I
is
actually would.
opinion-based.
And I actually but I actually wouldn't have a problem with anyone.
Well, I'm waiting to I say my
3rd
third
to
take because you guys are going to go.
Well, I haven't like said.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so I've
blow
got
up.
Chelsea at 5th.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's a very. I think that
He's back in it again.
like they have so many players in this squad that
Something has to
they
work.
can't be that bad, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as in, if Lavia doesn't play well, then we'll put in Caicedo. You know what I mean? But I mean they got Cucurella Australia, so they should be good. And then
Haaland.
They had these players last
Neto
season.
is a great sign if you can get in the park.
Oh, it'd be
Consistently
fantastic
enough,
for
it's
them,
a
yeah.
great signing. Reece James, another soft tissue, another hammy
Man,
again.
that's pissed me off.
Another 1 month hammy.
Although I think
like,
Gusto's better than him either way.
regardless, it's their captain, right? Like
It makes an impact.
it's really frustrating as a watching Chelsea from afar. The manager situation, I've got no idea how well it could go. Like what's going to happen there, if how much time they'll give him, etc. But I don't think they'll start as bad as they have in the past few years, and I think they'll have enough quality on the pitch,
Get it done.
and I think they have a good enough idea what their best team is now that they'll get
Their
results.
pre-season wasn't great.
I'll go Villa 5th. Onana, Matson, Philogene, Illing Jr., Barkley.
Nana is a great
Great.
signing.
To the
I really
midfield
rate
solid.
Onana.
Again, I'm another
I
Barkley
really rate
fan.
Andre Onana.
Yeah. man like Andre in midfield. For me, like the West Ham thing, my biggest problem was fullback, Matson. Midfield, Onana. You got Barkley there until Kamara comes back and adds a bit of versatility in that midfield. You lose Douglas Luiz and you've got the midfield depth there.
The Cam, the little Argentinian,
Oh, Buendia.
Wendy's back.
He's
as
coming
well.
back, but it will be big because you lose Diaby, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you got that.
yeah.
You got that depth up top.
That was random.
I think Morgan Rogers will start the season. 'Cause again, I'm a big fan of Morgan Rogers. I think he's got what it takes to be that sort of left inside attacker. And if Leon Bailey cooks again like last season, I can see it going very well. And I back it.
Don't know if that when you look at Leon Bailey, I don't think you look at that as
yeah.
just a form thing though. I think he actually is
I think he's a very good player.
quality player.
He's a
And I
decent
think under Unai, he's been made to be that next
I
level.
think
player.
Leo Bailey's a good player.
Yeah. So I think Unai
Yeah.
gets it done for them. They finish 5th for
Okay,
me.
so me 4th,
4th.
Villa. So this is a very hard one for me. I'm actually
Top 4.
Yeah, I was really stuck who to put 3rd and 4th, and yeah, it was actually really hard because I could, as much as I could put both teams that I've put around this area, like even West Ham in these positions, I could very much wake up tomorrow and go, nah, I actually want to put
covering
these
his back.
3 teams
He's covering his back.
7th, 8th, 9th. But
Say it with
I
chest.
just look at Villa, and as you said, the positions that they were probably a little bit flawed at last season, they've made those signings. They've took themselves to that next level. Douglas Luiz, don't get me wrong, is a huge miss, but they've brought in Onana. I think they've got the depth as well it is a little bit of a worry going into Champions League football. We saw it with Newcastle last season. Do they have the ability, these players, to be able to, because realistically, they're probably going to want to do half decent in Champions League and they're going to play their best team. It's going to be one of those things, trying to play their best team midweek and on the weekend. Is that really going to work? They'll have a few players that have rotation, but probably not as much as those top-end teams. But I just think that Unai's a great manager. I think he'll be able to get around both competitions.
Get around them.
And I think that they just have enough quality. And when Mings should be back, which will give them a bit more depth.
Forgot about Mings.
We'll give them a bit more depth.
He's not going to really get close to the pitch.
No, but he might get close maybe in the Champions League.
He's depth.
Or
He's
something.
depth.
Yeah.
I'll hit Diago Carlos.
Tyron Mings in Champions League.
Top 4.
4, I got Spurs.
Top Spur.
Yeah, I'm backing in Ange.
Aussie tax, yeah.
A bit of Aussie tax, but I just like what's happening at Spurs. I think
It's coherent.
I think we'll see less fluctuation between their best and worst this year as they build their squad a little bit, and the way they persisted last year when they had massive injuries and with the red cards and everything, they still played the way they're going to play. I think that'll have more success this year. Persisting with what will have more success this year as they build that squad, which they're doing. Solanke's a great signing. I wouldn't mind them get 1 or 2 more maybe in the deep line midfield or defensive area, just to build a little bit more depth there. However, I think there's a lot of things going well at Spurs, and I really back in Ange to get the best out of the squad. And once he gets it playing his way, I think that'll be a successful way. So I've got Spurs at 4th, which would be a great season, I think, for them.
That'd be nuts, yeah. I got United 4th. Backing in the signings, backing in what I saw from on Saturday night. I was very impressed with that. I know City didn't put up their A team, but you still got some big players in that team that played.
Yeah, all over them.
And I think the signs are there. The continuity from top to bottom helps. And I don't want to get into all that stuff, but it actually does help. I'm backing that in. New players that the manager and the system now is going to fit. Happy with that as well. It's not going to be a drastic improvement to being competing with the top 3.
Oh, no.
I think the top 3, I still reckon the top 3 are in the world of their own. But I think as a 4-player team will be consistent enough. And that's the big thing in Manchester United. It's the biggest word in the last 10 years, consistency. I think this year you finally start adopting consistent habits, consistent ways, and that gets you over the line because you've got a team that understands what it needs to do. I'm seeing a little bit more depth. If all the next 3 or 4 days, if everyone comes in which needs to come in, I will be fulfilled 4th, definitely. As it currently stands, it is a bit dodgy if it's going to be 4th or 5th.
Yeah, I think it's another one. It's Man United.
So you got them in 3rd?
I've got them in 3rd.
Yeah.
It's Man United. They have the ability to do anything. It's like a Kinder Surprise, really. You don't really know what you're gonna get, but
it's always just going to be a little shitty plastic toy. Is the reality?
No, but let me speak, Flynn. Okay,
you get a Kinder Surprise. Cool. You might get a cool one. You might get a bad one. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a bit of shit that is plastic. You want to throw it out. No one wants to keep it. What do you do with the Kinder? You eat the chocolate. You light the outside. You never see that thing again.
I've backed Ten Hag in this whole time. I'm big. I'm really, really big. And Mourinho said this when he was at United. Go look at City. They had investments from the past.
Oh, the quote. It's going
Okay?
to be in the quote.
Investments from the past. When Pep came in, there were 6 or 7 players from the past. United haven't had those investments. And you can say what you want to say, that there's big money, but they're not players that have performed, whether it's for Ten Hag or other managers. So it's not a Ten Hag thing. So now Ten Hag has started to finally build a team that is Ten Hag football. You go look at our starting...
Whatever that is.
You go look at this, but whether or not he doesn't have time anymore. This is Ten Hag's year because he has his signings. He has had the other 3 seasons where Ten Hag doesn't have an excuse where he's going, these players aren't the players that I've backed in.
No top 4 is he sacked? No top 4 is he sacked?
Yes, I agree. Yes.
You might be, yeah.
I agree with that. That's fair. But what I'm saying is, you go look at the starting lineup. Whether it's you go look at Garnacho, Ahmed, whether it's Højlund or Xerxes. Ahmed obviously wasn't a signing, but he's a Ten Hag. Ten Hag is backing in. That's a front 4 that Ten Hag is. Bruno, Okay, Bruno's one of those ones that you can actually say was an investment from the past that actually has worked for all the managers that have come in. Then you go look at the midfield. Manu, Casemiro, Ugarte, whoever comes in, they are Ten Hag signings. You go look at the back line, we're finally starting to have some depth. It looks like we're actually going to have 4 players in that position that are all Ten Hag. It's not going to be Maguire, the Lindelof show. We're going to have, I know Yori's injured, but we're going to have De Ligt and Martinez starting. A partnership that has done well in the past. We're going to have, in depth, we're going to have not Delort playing left back, it doesn't look like, and maybe he will a little bit, but if he does have to play left back, there's another Ten Hag signing in Maserati play, not Wan-Bissaka, who is Brexit football. Okay? You look at the positions, there is starting to get some depth there. They're going to bring in Hermoso as the 4th centre-back. Another player that suits Ten Hag. Ten Hag doesn't have the excuses. And it's me purely going, I look at the players, and when Ten Hag had his players playing last season, when he had his players playing in that first season, it worked. Okay? So it's me going, if Ten Hag now has more of that depth, so it is all right if we have an injury. We look at last season, it was Højlund or bust. Like, we had no second striker there. We've got that second striker this season. We've got players that it looks like if there is an injury, like we look at Yori's injured and Højlund's injured, I don't go so much and go, we're stuffed. I go, there are still players there that Ten Hag trusts, Ten Hag likes, play the Ten Hag way. So now, if Ten Hag doesn't succeed, he has to go. So it's me going purely now going, you know what, I'm expecting us to take that next step. But if we don't, gone. There is none of this, like I've said last season, we had injuries and Maguire and Johnny Evans were playing. Well, Maguire and Johnny Evans shouldn't be playing. Maybe Maguire plays a little bit, but it shouldn't be them two starting as our starting centre-back playing. We know they can't play a high line.
Maguire's 5th centre-back now.
Yeah, Maguire's 5th centre-back.
If by the end of the week he should be 5th centre-back.
Yeah.
That should be
There's players. It doesn't look like we're going to have to play. Casemiro playing next to Manu actually wasn't the worst thing. We know that Casemiro isn't the player he was in that first season, but he can't play as that. He can't play as that solo DM like he was playing in the past. But he probably won't even have to start. So that's my thought process there.
Yeah, I think I made my United stance clear before. I had him in, I think, 8th. I think I had United 8th.
8th, yeah. Because West Ham 9th there.
Yeah, we United 8th. So I've got Newcastle at 3rd.
Yeah.
No European football. They finished 4th 2 years ago. I think their squad is better than them before. I think that top 9 is so murky after 2nd. You know, I think there's a top 2, then there's the rest. I think it's so murky. I don't think you need to blow anyone out of the water to have a good season this year in 3rd and 4th, as you've seen with Newcastle and Spurs. And I have so much faith in Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon to just, I can see them combining for, 35 goals.
They have a better season than last year. That's how I look at it.
They're young. They look hungry. Anthony Gordon is an animal. I rate him so highly. I think Isak's a beast. And if they can get like a bit more defensive stability, saying what they've had before with Sven Botman and Fabian Schär, then I have a lot of faith in that team to do well. I don't think Eddie Howe's anywhere near as bad as you make him out to be. Top worst manager out of the 9. I think that's a very harsh call. We've got people you probably didn't heard of last year, so I think it's going to click this year, and I think the Newcastle project is going to take a big step this year, and finish 3rd.
Right. You worried about any injuries? If Botman gets injured, what happens then?
Oh well,
I don't know. Like it's that for every team.
I think I've done that. I think I've gone on the basis
for every team.
Yeah, no. Look, the injury thing is definitely real. If Botman goes down or Isak goes down or Gordon goes down, then
Isak or Gordon. Maybe I'm not hyped, but I think Botman's so important though.
Yeah.
We saw last season it just fell apart when he was there. That's what I'm worried about. One
guy.
But
he put the whole season together the year before, and And look, I have faith in if Botman stays. Yeah, it's a massive.
But if Botman stays fit,
it is a massive if. If their key players, that is not just Botman, if their key players can all manage to stay fit for the whole season, but on the basis that they do, that's what I'm my prediction on.
That's valid.
And I think they can have a really, really successful season and finish 3rd.
Yeah, I've got Liverpool third. I'm keeping them third. I still reckon they compete. I said a few weeks ago, I'm going to go with the analogy. The iron's still hot. It's still there. It's dwindling, but you've still got Van Dijk. You've still got these talented players. I still think McAllister's one of the top midfielders in the Premier League. Again, we're relying on Salah to go one more time around. Does that happen?
That's not happening.
That's what it comes
Well,
up
he might
to.
be there, but I just can't see him performing.
Jota,
Yeah, I agree with that.
the consistency there in terms of availability, similar to Pedro Neto, that's going to be a problem. But I think the squad, as it currently is still elite level players.
There's a lot of
I think it's still top three players. The best team in pre, and I know, and it could be laughable, but they are the best team in pre-season. They're still looking like that team that's taking some components of Klopp. I think Arne Slott's taken an active role in trying to correlate as much as he possibly can, or possibly understands, I guess, from the Klopp system and translating across. They're still playing with that energy which they play under Klopp. Defensive is a little bit less at your face defensively from what I've seen. I only watched 1.5 games of them playing, but it's that sort of style. I still reckon they're a really, really good team. They're still the same faces. It is a year older, but this is a team that was in a title debate until the last 8 games of the season, 7 games, until Salah shut the bed.
Yeah. I thought they were punching. That's why it kind of relates to why I don't have expectation as high this year. But that's still valid.
They were still top. I don't know.
They still.
It went from top to third very quickly because it all just sort of fell out very fast. But they were top of the league come the turn of the year, I'm pretty sure, or January. So I still back that squad in. Again, last summer the transfers wasn't that great either, according to Pete. Like it was McAllister, Endo, and
I don't think anyone said that. Their transfers last summer were fantastic.
Gravenberch.
Szoboszlai.
Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister.
I think everyone
and
thought they had
No,
great
but it's not like what we've seen, when we've seen in the past, when you've got Nunes for 100-something million,
but they
Van
signed
Dijk for 80-something
They
million.
made no signings.
They signed,
and then,
and
then
but
you're
he
also
players.
relying on how good Endo was last year to hold that midfield together.
He's apparently on there because they're gonna. That's the signing they're gonna make. It's a DM. That's the only signing they're gonna make.
It looks like he's coming in, but
So like, everyone's about Endo. I loved Endo and McAllister. But if you're going from Endo and McAllister to Zubomendi and McAllister, that's an upgrade on a ready, I think, top 3 team. I already think it's a top 3 team plus a Zubomendi in there, who's so well he played for Spain.
I think
I'm
if
just
they bring
backing in the
Zubomendi,
correlation.
I'd be a lot more confident about their season.
My thought process is way more on the line of when have we seen a regime end and the rebound manager do well? Wenger, no.
But it was that squad
Moyes,
not dead.
no.
Moyes, no.
I just think those squads were dead.
No, I think that's fair, but I also think
That's
that
Van
like-
Dijk's
to
not.
say when
Van
United
Dijk's
won
not
the
Rio.
league.
Van Dijk's not Rio Ferdinand though. Like Rio Ferdinand was what 34, 35.
But can he not be?
But Salah gives those vibes.
He's still,
Salah gives like washed
he's still got Van Dijk. He's still
vibes.
got Trent. He's still got Andy Robertson. McAllister came
You're
last
talking
year.
about
There's players there.
They were old. Don't get me wrong.
It's just more like a
aura thing.
Yeah, but
like the vibe of the club. It just feels like it can be so hard to. We've seen it. I just feel like we've seen it a couple of times now, where trying to replace a regime manager, a successful regime, can take some time, and for some clubs it can never recover. This one doesn't feel like that. This one, I still think I think it's going to be a tight top whatever it is, but I just think it could be a little bit harder.
what I was say, Wenger was what 20? How many years was he there?
Yeah, no,
20?
it was.
It was 9 years, and it was a fantastic 9 years. But it isn't
it was
Patrice
very
Evra
successful.
versus Robertson. It isn't Ferdinand versus
But
Van
you're talking about a team
Dijk.
that won the league.
Exactly. This is a team that was top
Liverpool
until
didn't
9
even win the
games.
league,
They were still competing for the title right to the
I
end.
think you
No
twist
matter
them out a
how
little
old
bit.
they are, though, United
They-
team still
they
won the
just
league.
won
they
the
still
league.
fell off.
No, but
They were.
but no one would have said that going into the season though. They just won the league.
If you go 3 years forward, it's a totally different goal because then Van Dijk's 38 and 35.
Because you had to
so
see them drop off, though.
But
You just won the league.
exactly. They
Like,
pressed. They
Van
had won the
Persie
league
just won the
year
Golden Boot.
before.
yeah, but Van Persie was still great.
No, but they were
Rooney was
literally like the Premier League champions.
Champions. They
No
were all
one
still
who
good.
was going to say, "Oh, Ferdinand's washed already."
Yeah, no one
Like-
said Ferdinand was washed. He wasn't washed in that
what-
last
of
season.
the-
Everyone knew it was Ferguson. It was always going to end there. It was supposed to end the season before. You know that. As a United
Yes.
fan.
Yeah, but they still won
It
the
all
league,
just.
though.
It was all one more. These players wouldn't. If Ferguson had retired a year earlier, that season is not the
I have a
season it
question
was.
for you. What's to tell you we come the end of the season? Because it's very heavily, obviously, on them finishing third. I'd say is pretty heavy on Salah and Van Dijk.
Their performances, yeah.
Yeah,
Same as
what's to tell
Haaland
them
and De
that
Bruyne.
they're
I
coming in
actually
12 months'
disagree.
time?
I actually disagree.
I would say what's to come in 12 months' time, and they just both fall off the cliff.
No. Van Dijk is still for me.
Yeah, but if we spoke 10 years ago, I would have said, and you would have said, no, those players that just won the league wouldn't have fallen off the cliff.
3 years from 32 to 30, it's a lot different.
Is it though?
Van Dijk just did it in the Euros, mate. We just saw him about 4 weeks ago do it at Euros for Netherlands, finished 4th.
I don't take
Rio
much.
didn't go anywhere.
I
Rio had an
don't take
off-season.
much from the Euros. We've seen it as
From
a
the
World
Euros,
Cup.
for a Netherlands
It is a
team that
lot
did 4th.
slower paced football.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and we've seen it too many times that these players dominate at the Euros.
Van Dijk's different, mate. He's been.
It doesn't matter though. I'm not saying you should that his performance at the Euros. He's not going to back it up. I'm just going to say I'm not going to take anything from. I'd rather look at his last season and go, he was decent last Premier League
I think it's
season.
better than decent. But I'm still seeing that Liverpool team. I reckon the Irons.
Let's go to the top two.
Top two.
What order?
What order?
Yeah.
That's pretty.
City 2, Arsenal 1.
Really?
Yeah, what are you?
Oh, put it there, lad. Of course, I've got Arsenal up top. We're winning the league.
Okay, can I give my quick?
Have you gone?
I'll give-
City.
I'll give my quick analysis.
Pep's last dance, mate.
I just think there has to be a drop off, and I think that you look at City's team.
Mate, KDB is already in Al-Nassr. Like that's
haven't
crazy,
made-
by the way.
They
He's
haven't
twerking.
really made any signings at all.
Savinho, by the way, his name is. He went from
He's
Savio to Savinho.
the number one
And I
signing.
think they just like jump.
He went to City and became Savinho. He was Savio,
Savio,
and
Jordan,
now he
yeah.
is Savinho. It's
but
it's hilarious.
like just letting go, like they're just too confident about things. Just letting go, like
Just too
Alvarez.
confident. Just too confident.
Alvarez, just letting him go. Like he was one of their better players last season.
He played
loss.
36. He started 36 games, which I don't think people realize. He started so
He
many
was
games.
so good, especially when there was injuries last season. He carried them through a few games before Foden hit the ground running. There was Alvarez. Remember that?
Yeah, no, Alvarez was cooking at the start of the year.
Yeah, and it's just me thinking it has to come to an end. They can go 5 Premier League seasons in a row. Like, that's crazy stuff. I'm not saying they're going to have a huge drop-off, but you don't need a huge drop-off when you got Arsenal on their tail. And Arsenal's going to be on their tail.
You're going to tell what they want.
I don't think we'll be on that tail, man, because we're going to start the league up top, man. The league up top, so it's going to be all good.
Do you think you signed a striker, though? Do you think that is the nail in the... like?
Apparently, Gabriel Jesus is cooking, so it's all good. I'm
That might change my
I'm
opinion.
more
If you're a striker,
I'm more confident than I was last year, and I was very confident last year. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just feel like this team is just like ready to not just win a league, but like is
dynasty type stuff.
No, go on. Like this is gonna. I have so much faith in this Arsenal team, being an era, and it's got to start somewhere. I think we're just gonna get one, and it's just gonna the rest of it fall into its pieces. That being said, if it doesn't work out that way, then Arsenal and Arteta are going to be at a really interesting point in
definitely
in alignment, because we've built up a squad. This team needs to start. It needs to win. It can't just compete. It needs to win stuff.
Really?
100%. No. I know.
Sometimes you got to say thank you to a manager for everything they did, but you don't take us to that next level.
There would be.
You're not a winner, unfortunately, and that's the thing you got to look at here. You're going to say no. Otherwise, we're just living in bureaucracy.
There's a few caveats there.
If they go win the Champions League and they don't do it, that's different.
No, there's a few caveats, because if Arteta, if we don't win and Pep leaves the Prem, which it looks like that could definitely happen as well, then we'll definitely go again with him.
Yeah, you have to go again.
And I think, to be honest, I think we probably waited out. I think we waited out with Arteta regardless until Pep's gone. But that being said, on all things, viewing it objectively, I think that we'd be at a bit of an interesting crossroads if we don't win.
Interesting.
No, I'm not saying we
I'm
don't sack.
not saying you sack him if
I'm
you
just
finish.
saying is him.
Like if you lose by,
It starts becoming a bit of
couple
a
points.
I feel like you said the exact same thing this time last year.
Yeah, but I think it's just one. Exactly.
Yeah, but
I think
if you go
it's another
season press where they probably not maybe should have,
So
but they probably
Liverpool sacked Klopp before his 4th year where he won it.
be different though.
No, I don't.
They've been right up there. They've got the squad. They have the players
It
now.
also becomes a pattern of can he just not get it done, rather than
And it's also a time thing. Obviously their team's really young, but they're in their form of their lives right now. There's a time when that drop off, players like you've seen with City might start to go in the next 3-4 seasons, where you don't want to miss the boat as well. And if you bring in a quality winner manager, I don't see why that Arsenal squad is as good as that City squad. As of now,
I would 100% agree.
Yeah. I don't know, I just have City. I think I just back him in.
Yeah,
But you just
so-
can't keep it. Okay, then you go to the next season, let's say, for example, and they finish second again. Do you keep him then as well? He's going
But
to
who's better?
Yeah, exactly.
Who the hell's better?
It's a predicament. It's a major.
Alonso's going to Real. Ancelotti's done. So who are you going to get? Tell me a manager you're going to get.
It's not about that. Sometimes you
But what is it about
You
then?
need to take that team to that next level, Press.
So you get some random to come in and do, who?
No, you
who-
don't
what's
get a
that?
There's
random.
no
but you-
proven winners. You bring
You don't-
Zinedine
So
Zidane.
give me an answer. If you think Zidane, fuck, I'll sit back and sit and say, get rid of Arteta. But you tell me one name and then I'll listen to it. But you got no...
Yeah, you're definitely right. I'm just saying, if there is a manager out there that can take him to the
agree
next
with you.
level,
I think
I'm not
you're
gonna go
both. I
sack
think
him
you're
for-
both correct.
I'm not going to go sack him for nobody. So if there's no one on the market, 100% agree with you.
I just stay in my boat because I'm the same with United. So I'm the same with Arsenal. Got to give... I know the modern time's not about giving
Bit
people time,
different,
but you need to allow...
Arteta after this season is going to be 6 full seasons.
It was a project. It was never supposed to... Like,
Yeah, but
you saw how shit they were. Well, dog shit.
Preston, 6 seasons though. He's wiped, as we were talking about with United, get rid of all
But has
the
he not
dead
just
wood.
started
He's
it?
got rid of it. No,
Has he not
this is
just
the third whole season. This is the third season now. And I'm not saying that if they finish the league and they were 2 points behind City, they're not going to sack him, obviously. But what I'm trying to say is, for example, if they were to finish third this season, he gets a sack. If they don't compete for that league...
They got to compete,
If
yes.
they don't compete for that league till 3 match days left, he's sacked. Well, if he's not sacked, I think he should be sacked.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's a bit like my Ten Hag thing now. If Ten Hag doesn't finish top 4, he needs to go.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other. We could do a whole podcast.
Over that. All right. I went Man City top and Arsenal second. I'll have them on screen, or I'll put it in Instagram post and what our orders will be. That's that for this week. Next week we'll come through and review it all because we have all the games to talk about. Very excited for match week 1. Actually, give me a quick prediction real quick. Chelsea and Nancy, that was about the big game of the weekend. Score.
It's at the Etihad, yeah?
at the bridge, I think.
At the bridge. Oh,
Bridge.
okay.
Fence slapping deluxe.
Cool.
I'm gonna go Tours.
Yeah,
on.
I'm
I
backing
feel like they
goals.
love a
They
Tours.
love a bit
too.
of score. What was last year? 4-4.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna go. I'm backing it.
All right,
I agree.
I'll go City 3-2. It'll be exciting. We'll go 3-2.
Watch a bit, 0-0.
Rodri masterclass inbound. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on YouTube. Let us know of your thoughts of our ladders. I'd love to hear what you think of them. And we'll be back next week for match day 1 recap. Until next time, guys. See you later.